Hello, welcome to Just Chat with Uncle Dominic. Today, our topic is what is success and how it defines us. And let's start with a quote. So, our first quote for today is from Steve Jobs. It says, "If you really look closely, most overnight successes took a long time." So what does it mean? Does it mean that we have to work really hard like Steve Jobs and or be talented like him to be successful? So let's find out all about it today. So I have our guest Michael Biernes from michaelbiernes.com. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the show, Michael. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself to start off with?
Yeah, sure. I'm Mike Biernes. I'm here in the United States, right outside of Washington, D.C. I'm 32 years old. I've been working in healthcare for 8 or 9 years and just wrapped up my MBA. And along that journey, I found a passion for mentorship
Okay.
and helping people achieve their best version of themselves. And so that's where I actually started writing a book, and I'll be published later this year in December. My pre-sale starts this Friday, which I'm really excited about. And my book is titled Redefining Success. So perfect for today's topic.
Excellent. So for viewers out there, if you're interested in Michael's book, there's a link down here you can click on, or later on I'll put a link on the chat box where you can find his website and get his book, order his book. I'm excited as well. Like, so the big question is success, right? So can you tell us what is success?
Yeah, so you're going to hate this answer, but I can't define success for you, and you can't define success for me. And so what I have found in all of my conversations and my research is that defining success is a very personal thing. We often like to view success only in the career aspect, right? So money, power, fame. But I'm here to tell you today that success encompasses many facets of life because you need health, community, family, finances, you name it. They're all part of that success equation, and I'm happy to dive deeper into that.
So it's not about the tangible things, right? Would you say that?
Right, right. So I think that there's a ton of research out there that shows that tangible things, you might get an instant piece of happiness or fulfillment out of getting them, but that goes away really quickly.
But here's the thing that the young people like me, right? Well, when I was young, like I view success as getting like lots of billions of dollars, be a millionaire, right? And achieving things like that. And so when I reached Taiwan, like in Taiwan, being a millionaire is actually pretty easy. And so compared to being a millionaire in the US. But the thing is, it's not about the currency, right? It's about the achievement that you get, right?
Right.
And so when I don't get that, I don't feel successful.
So you're right. So I think there's two main pieces here. So the first is happiness, and the second is what you're talking about, fulfillment. I think
fulfillment.
being able to achieve what you want brings that sense of fulfillment, and reaching goals can be fulfilling. But what I'm telling you is, I think that you will only feel this happiness and fulfillment long term if you know your priorities and you align your life around those priorities. So if you want to be a billionaire and that's what you want, but it aligns with the rest of your priorities around every other facet of your life, then becoming a billionaire will bring you happiness and fulfillment. But most of the time, just having billions of dollars won't do that for you.
So I can find success besides getting money? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you definitely can. I mean, it depends what your definition of success is, right? So for me, success is, I want to have a nice home and I want to be able to provide for my family, but I also want to have free time to go and travel, and I want to see my friends, and I want to be healthy and have time for exercise. And everything comes with trade-offs, right? So if you want to work really hard and become that billionaire, that's fine. But other things will have to be sacrificed, right? You're probably going to not exercise.
So it's like I can't have everything, right? I cannot have everything. So I have to sacrifice some things. Like there's a guy, I forgot his name. Anyway, he was saying, I'll remember his name later. he was saying that he was successful. He's a billionaire, right? But then he sacrificed his family, so he lost time with his family. But he's super rich, and so for guys like me, like I have family and everything, but I feel like I sacrifice money. I need money, right? I need money to be, to able to afford my family, to take care of my family. So people look at me, they say I'm successful. Dominic, you're successful. You have family, you have job, you have car, you have a house, and when I look at myself, I said, but I need money to provide all those things, so I don't feel successful enough. So
Right.
how can we fix that?
Yeah. So there's actually some really fascinating research that shows that with money, think of it as a graph. The more you make, the more happiness and fulfillment that you'll start to feel. And with that, let's call that success, right? Like I think happiness and fulfillment is what success is. And for you, that's having money to provide for your family, right? But there also comes a point, and depending on where you live, that point is different, where making more money actually does not bring you any more happiness or fulfillment. And once you reach another point, you actually become less happy and less fulfilled the more money you make.
Okay.
And it's not because you're making more money. It's because of everything that you're sacrificing to make that much money.
Yeah, I guess so, right? But then there are people who say that you will only say that if you have money. If you don't have money, then you want to, try to attain money. So it seems like I was watching a video earlier from Gary V, right, Vaynerchuk. He was saying, yeah, right now you want to be rich and stuff, but once you get up there as CEO, you realize that you don't want money anymore. So you want something else. So would you say that it's like a level that we have from this level right now? We have to think, I want money. When we get to this level, then we think about, I want something else. Is that success?
So there's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yep.
And so the very bottom level is, things like food, shelter, water, your basic essentials, right? And until you fulfill that need, that's exactly what you're going to focus on. The very next step up, right, is you need security, right? And so you want a nicer house. You want to live in a nicer place. You want to afford that security system, or you want whatever you want, but you want to feel secure. Once you achieve that, then what you really want is belongingness. So you want to feel like you're part of a community and you have friends, right? Then above that is achievement. So that's when you want to earn a certain title or get a certain amount of respect. But to your point with what Gary Vaynerchuk was saying, above that, what everyone fundamentally hopes to get to at the very end of the day is self-actualization. And what self-actualization means is you're just the best version of yourself. And my thoughts on that after all this interviews and all this research, right, is I agree with you. If you're struggling to put food on the table, you want more money. You don't want to struggle for food. If you're struggling to pay your rent, you want more money. You're going to work really hard for that. But once you get to that certain threshold and you have the food, you have shelter, you're feeling good about where you are, what you really want is that happiness and fulfillment. And that won't necessarily come from more money. That'll come from doing the things that align with your priorities and that really matter to you.
I like that. I actually feel like happiness tends to right now with the pandemic going on, where people are antisocial or you cannot socialize anymore, and it makes us feeling the need to belong somewhere, and so it's hard, right? It's hard, and for those of us right now, there's quite a lot of us because of the pandemic, we lost our jobs, and so there are people are giving up on their lives, and so what can you say to people like that right now? Like they they know they need to provide for their family. They know that their definition of success right now is like you said, the main tier at the bottom, right? The priorities. But they're having trouble because of pandemic. So what can we say to people like that to help them? I don't know. I can't say cheer up, because cheer up is just like a word, right? So there has to be an advice or tips for people like that to actually bring themselves up. So Michael, do you have any advice on that?
Yeah. Well, first, for those people who are struggling, I really feel for them, and I wish them nothing but the best. But the one piece of research that I found that seems to help, no matter where you are on the pyramid, is gratitude, right?
Yes, I
And
like that.
so it's so important to focus on the things you do have rather than the things you don't have, right? And in times that are really difficult, it's really easy to become dark and depressed and sad and focus on the things that are not going right. But simply by reminding ourselves of what we have to be thankful for every day, that's so powerful. And what it can do is that actually can cheer us up. It can make us better able to withstand future hardships, and it will position us to be able to be happier with our current lives. I can tell you that no matter where you are on that hierarchy, one
Mhm.
thing that people really struggle with is comparing themselves to others, right?
Yes,
And
I,
so
I
like,
hate the comparing part. Yeah.
right. So if you make $10 an hour, you look at the guy that's making $15 an hour, and you're like, I wish I was that guy. And that guy does the same thing for 20, and that guy does the same for 50, and the guy who's making $1 million says, I want to be $1 billion, right? And no matter where you are, you constantly compare. And so there's actually this Harvard study, and I'd love to ask you this question to see what your answer would be.
I'm
They
gonna
asked
fail.
they asked they asked Harvard students in the 90s, right?
Right.
Would you rather make $50,000 a year and your peers made $25,000 a year, or you make $100,000 a year but your peers make $200,000 a year?
Hmm. In
So
this case, I would like the second one because I'm making more money than the first one.
right. So that makes a lot of sense, right? You
Right.
have more, and your friends and your peers have more too, and that's all good. Can you believe that 52% of Harvard students chose $50,000 over the $100,000
I would
just
feel
because they would have more than
right.
their peers?
Yeah, I guess most people will actually think that. I was gonna say that as well, and I was waiting for a second answer. I was like, this feels like a trick question already, and so yeah, I'm definitely getting the
Exactly.
second one because I'm getting more money than the first one. But in this case as well, right? It makes you think about the person who picks the first one. It's not only saying that he has more than his peers, but he's saying I am a step ahead than the peers. So that
Right.
means I am in the number one spot, right? So I'm
Yeah.
so I would say competitiveness, right? Because
Right.
if in the business world, right, and you yeah, in the business world, it's just like that. You want to be better than your competitors, right? So you want to make more money than them, and you want your store, your business to be better. And so in this case, if you are the first person, I guess it's a bit better. Wouldn't that be? If I'm the first person that runs this business in this generation, would it mean that I will be more successful? So I guess
I,
yeah.
I don't think so. Wouldn't you rather have $100,000?
Well, if we look at the amount of money, yes, yes, definitely, right. But I
So
feel
I
yeah.
think the point of that study is to show that no matter where you are on that pyramid, going back to your question, right? If
Hmm.
people are really struggling, everyone always wants to compare themselves to others. And that happens to millionaires and billionaires too. And so the point is, through gratitude and through really understanding what you do have, right? I think that there's a lot of power in that. And yeah, keep working and keep working hard to get that job and work your way up. But I can tell you, no matter how much you make, you're always going to look at someone that makes more than you or
Exactly. Yeah.
has something you don't have. And that's a really toxic mentality.
Um, I recently I seen a few like influencers in these days because influencers are so many right now. There's like one of them, a female. She says I'm quitting my job today. I quit my job today because I feel like it's not taking me anywhere. I need to be more successful. So she quit her job and she went online, she went live and told everyone, I quit my job. And she got thousands of billions of viewers watching her. And she was crying and she said, I did the right thing. I'm going to get a better job. And so in my mind at that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, at this time of pandemic, if you quit your job, it's going to be very difficult to get a different job. That's what I'm telling myself. But I feel
Yeah.
like in another way, I feel like I should support her. I want her to be successful because sometimes we feel like we're stuck somewhere, we cannot go somewhere, we need to close the door here and go somewhere and open a bigger door, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the pandemic's been really interesting because it's made all of this solitude and all of this, all of this really difficult news has made people really reflect and look inward at what matters to them, right? And what makes them happy and what brings fulfillment. And at least in the United States, I don't know about where in Taiwan, but in the United States, there's something that economists are saying there's going to be a great resignation.
Oh.
That so many people realized that they were unhappy with their jobs or working too many hours or not feeling fulfilled, that they're saying upwards of 40% of the population could resign in the next year. So like people are realizing that there's more to life than just money and just working at a job and having to go into the office. They want things that bring them fulfillment, that align with their priorities, that have the right culture and allow them to have the flexibility to see their families and their friends and do the things that matter to them. And I think it's a really powerful movement if you're not struggling to put food on the table and you can afford that. And I applaud you, and you should go do that.
Right. That's what I was thinking as well when that young lady, when she quit her job, and I was like, yeah, your parents still have a house for you, and like if I quit my job, I'm like I have to think about I have to put money on the table, like food on the table, like how I'm gonna get
Right.
all of those. So I'm constantly thinking about if I lose my job, what's next? If I lose my job, what should I do next? And I have to think after next, and so I guess recently that's what I've been thinking, like being gratitude with my job, being grateful for everything I have, and at the same time thinking ahead what I should be doing next in case something happens, or prepare myself for something better. All right.
Yeah, I think that's a great plan. And what's nice about the way that you're doing it is you're de-risking it, right? You
Yes, in a
are
way, yeah.
you're looking ahead and you're thinking, okay, what tiny step can I take today towards something better tomorrow? Or what tiny step today can I take so that if something happens to my current opportunity, tomorrow I'll be okay, or at least a little bit closer to being okay.
Right.
So I think that's fantastic. There's a lot. I could share a ton of research from my book, and we won't go into it, but I applaud you. I think that's fantastic.
Okay, there is a quote that you put on your website, and I was looking at it, and I want to read it out to the people out there, and at the same time I'm gonna put it on the screen so everyone can see it. It says it's from your quote interview from your book. It's from Matthew Barry. Okay, so I put it up here so everyone can see it. It says, "I want to chase happiness. I no longer want to chase money. I no longer want to chase fame or success. I really just want to chase happiness." And once I said that out loud, people were like, "Good, go for you, go for you." So again, I want to chase happiness. I no longer want to chase money. I no longer want to chase fame or success. I really just want to chase happiness. And once I said that out loud, people were like, "Good, go for you." Right. So, why did you put that on your website?
Yeah, so I love that quote. So just to give you a little bit of a backstory of Matthew Barry, he was one of the folks that I interviewed for my book.
Right.
At the time that he made that decision, he was a Hollywood writer and producer.
Okay.
Right? So he had worked on Married with Children, Crocodile Dundee 3. He had worked with George Carlin, huge names in the industry, making all sorts of money, right? And living the Hollywood lifestyle that you see influencers have.
Everybody wants.
Right.
Yeah.
He decided to chase happiness by quitting that to write basically for free on blogs about fantasy football.
Oh. Okay.
Right. So he went from this huge salary to literally making almost nothing. Now, yes, he did it in a smart way. Just like I told you, I applauded you. You're taking tiny steps, right? So he decided when he made this decision, he said, okay, I'm going to write one more movie. I'm going to build a little bit of a cushion for myself, right? So I'm going to de-risk it. And so by doing that, he's kept writing and hustling And that was his passion. He loved it. It brought him so much happiness and joy despite making no money. Fast forward to today. He is the face of fantasy football in the United States. So if you're unfamiliar, it's like it's a game where you draft players, and it's a
Right.
multi-billion
I did
dollar
try that
industry
before,
now.
but
Yeah.
was never a thing.
So Matthew Berry's on TV. He was in the Avengers Endgame movie. He had a part in that movie.
Oh.
He has won an Emmy Award, right? And the list goes on and on and on. The man has, if you want to talk about success, right, that is career success, but he did it not by chasing money, not by chasing fame. All he wanted to do was chase happiness. And that's what brought him those tangible things that we talked about. But more importantly, he got those tangible things while also being happy and fulfilled. And so to me, that's a success story.
That is. But that is kind of difficult to attain for a lot of people, right? Because if you chase passion and at the same time, if you don't get the money that you have. I had an example of my brother-in-law, like before he had a good career, I guess, good money, I think. And then he decided to chase his passion of doing videoing, video editing, right? And it was very low pay. I mean, it was difficult for his family, I guess. But looking at him now, I'm like, wow, he's pretty successful because it's his passion. He's making money out of it, right? So he's doing well. So when I compare him to me, I feel like I had 3 businesses that I tried to start, and the third one was right now it failed. So they're all the same thing because they're all my passion. And I run a board game shop. So my first time, second time, and they're failing. So I'm like, I'm blaming myself for being unlucky for the first few times, and at the same time, right now, I almost blame it because of the pandemic. It makes it close, but I feel like I should do it, and then at the same time, maybe there'll be better opportunities happen in the future. And so I'm trying to tell myself success is just a stepstone. So that means I'm failing now, but maybe later I will be successful in my business career. So that's what I'm telling myself. But at the same time, I'm not seeing the produce, right? So I have to be persevere, I guess, be more patient, be grateful for, like you said, be grateful for the experience that I have, and then eventually, maybe 5 years later or 10 years later, maybe next year, I'll be successful in my business career, and then I'll be able to go back and tell everyone, you see, I did it. But I guess at the same time, right now, I'm not there yet, and so for me, success it's defining me. I guess saying defining me as my personality improves in a way, I guess, right? So in your book, does it say anything like that, or does it help us if we read your book that we be able to improve our life in a way that we can be successful by attaining the things that we align for, maybe like tangible things or happiness in different kind of things? Is there, or are there?
There's certainly a lot in there for you. So I break down a lot of the current science and psychology and neuroscience of mentalities, mindsets, frameworks, tactics that you can do to increase your happiness and fulfillment. When it comes to business success, right? I think so. Let me take a step back. There's also a piece at the end of my book. It's this exercise that allows you to define success for yourself, right?
Okay.
So again, I would say, if I were to probe you with a few questions about, okay, when you started these businesses and they didn't fail, they didn't work.
Mm.
Did it bring you excitement? Did it bring you happiness? Did you learn from it? Was it something where because maybe you made a few mistakes this time around, but maybe you can not make those same mistakes next time, like you said, and a year from now you can become successful in that career. Did it bring you more time with your family? I think there's so many facets of life where each of our decisions align that if you looked at it holistically, I would bet you, because you followed this passion of yours, this excitement, that in the end, despite the failure and it was hard, I think that it's going to set you up for more happiness and fulfillment moving forward. Because if you don't try, you're just going to be stuck. You're going to
I
feel
like that.
stuck.
If I don't try, I had this thinking in my head for a long time, ever since I was 20, well, less than 20. I think it was, yeah, in my teenage years. If I don't try, I'll never know. So I have this thing that if I don't try, I'll never know. And so I had this thing with my friends as well. Like everything they challenge me and or to do something, I feel like if it's logical, like if it's not risky, like unhealthy or whatever, I would try it. And then you know so here's what I always say, tell my students as well. I can get embarrassed or shocked for 5 minutes, or I'll regret it for the rest of my life. So if I don't, I use this because usually when for relationship, if I see a girl or someone I like, I want to talk to her. If I don't go talk to her or talk to him, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Whereas if I approach that person and talk to for 5 minutes and get rejected, I can move on. So,
Yep.
would that be the same?
Yeah, I love that. I love that mentality, right? So that's the growth mindset in action. You're just trying something new. You're putting yourself out there. And no matter what happens, you'll learn from it and you'll grow from it, right? There's actually 2 questions in my book that I have my readers ask
Okay.
themselves, right? And so the first is, and I really like this one, what would my 111-year-old self think about how I am today,
Mm.
right? And so I would bet you it's that thought of regret, right? If you didn't talk to that girl, if you didn't try building this business of yours, I bet you that if you were 111 years old looking back, you would have said, "Oh, I wish I would have tried to build that business," because otherwise you wouldn't have known. The other
Exactly.
question I like to ask is would I care about this 5 years from now, right?
Ah.
So we always beat ourselves up for when things don't go right, right? And when we make a mistake or we look silly or, if we embarrass ourselves, and then we beat ourselves up over it. And more than likely, if we look back 5 years from now, we won't even remember that it even happened. Where if
That
it
is
goes
true.
right, it could change your life.
Mm-hmm. When I first came to Taiwan, and then I would been teaching here as an educator, my goal was to be like the top educator, like like if there was a rank. So I feel like I want to be the best. I want to be the one that everyone knows who I am, to leave something behind. And so I'm always seeking for better employment opportunities, better pay, better salaries, better benefits, all these things. And then there was one time it hit me because my father passed away. And so that was one of the biggest regrets that I got, was because I didn't pay attention to what he said before he left this world. And if I at that time, I kind of contradict what I'm saying. I feel like I should have said, "Yes, I believe you," and I should have gone to find him, and then I will be there by his bedside when he left. And so my regret was I didn't believe him, and then he left, and then I'm stuck with this regret that I didn't take the opportunity to go and see him when I should have believed in him. So that has been beating me up. Like I said, you said people beat yourself up. So I did that to myself. It was my lowest time of my life. And from there, everything just crumbles, right?
Yeah.
Mentality, spiritual, even my career, my jobs. And so it was like, oh no, this is hurting me. And I felt like my definition of success then was not there anymore. It's gone. And feel
Right.
like I need to find success in grabbing happiness back into my life. But at the
Yeah.
same time, because I've been doing it for a long time, trying to seek, I guess, tangible things to define my success, when when right now it's not important, but more important is my happiness or my family's happiness. But it was very difficult because all of these things was still, it's like a habit. And so I'm trying to pick myself up. So, well, I guess it has been more than 5 years now. So have I picked myself up? I would say I have, but I'm not yet at the top of where I was before. I'm probably like right here from where I was before. And so
Yeah.
in this case, I would say success to me is, I wish I was there before, But at the same time, I felt like this experience has given me different type of thinking, like you said, and I'm seeking happiness as well more than this before. So yeah, so I
Yeah.
guess the question for that defines us, how it defines us, success, like you said, everyone's different. And so for me, my happiness, I guess it's my success right now. If I'm doing what I like, that will be my success in getting better.
Yeah. So firstly, I want to say I'm sorry. My condolences for your father.
All right.
Um, so I actually lost my father 3 years ago as
Oh,
well,
I'm sorry.
and I went through a similar journey as you did, and that's what actually led me to write this book. Is early in my career, I wanted to move up as fast as possible, and I wanted to be the best, right? I wanted to be some big time corporate person
Right,
in
right,
pharmaceutical and make all the money and have the biggest house and, do everything the best.
right.
Um, and then my father passed, and it really put things in perspective,
It
and it
does,
made me
right? It does. It
reflect.
does. Yeah.
And so, I think many of us, when we're young, we want that. We want all the things, because I think when we're young, success is money, power, fame. That's
Mm-hmm.
all we know, right? We see TV, we see culture telling us, go make the most money you can, go be one of three professions, right? Be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. That's pretty much it.
Right.
But I think that as you grow up and you have these types of experiences, I talk about these in my book. They're these massive life transitions that occur, and no matter what happens, everybody goes through them at some point or another. And so the earlier that you can redefine success for yourself and prioritize happiness and fulfillment, the better that you will be at overcoming those life challenges when they come and they knock you to the ground. Because unfortunately they do come. And I was right there with you. I was at a really low point in my life, and I'm still trying to figure out what this new normal is. It takes a lot of time.
Right. I really like that way it's so yeah, to everyone out there, that's what Michael meant, and I think it's true because we need to prioritize, and then find what aligns to us, and then we can get success. And well,
Yep.
depends on what you define success is, right?
Right.
Um, there is another quote that I want to share. Okay, this is from Bill Cosby. Um, he says, "In order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure. In order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure." So I don't know. We haven't talked too much about failure yet, right? We have been talking about how we find success and like different types of success in us, I guess. So what do you think about having failures?
I think we all go through failures. If you don't fail, you're not doing it right, right? You're living too safe. I think that when you fail, it's because you're trying something new and hard and something that you probably care a lot about, because otherwise you wouldn't be trying it, because it's new and it's hard. And so I think failure is a really important aspect of life as you continue to grow as a person and grow your career, because without it, you're just going to stay where you are and nothing will ever change. And that seems a bit boring to me.
Yes. Yeah. Well. Yeah. So, but sometimes I do wish that I never had failures. Like I wish that failures aren't there. I can just move on. And I've seen people
Yeah.
who haven't had failures in their life and they're still moving on. And I'm like, how do they do it? Well, I guess I can't say it because everyone's life is different, right?
I
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to add, I would bet you that if you asked them, they had a lot of failures. I think, people like to project only the highlights of their life.
Right. Yeah.
And if you took the time to ask them, so a good example from my book. So I interviewed one of the people that I interviewed. Not everyone was famous. I interviewed my college buddy. He was my roommate, right? I've known him for almost 12 years now. And I interviewed him because I knew, or I thought I knew, that he knew what he wanted from the age of 15, that he was the most successful person I knew because he was living his life aligned to his dream from day one. And I had no idea how he did it. So I
Wow.
asked him, how did you do this? And he goes, it's funny you say that, because a lot of people say that about me, but it's just not true. And I interviewed my friend for 45 minutes, and he told me about all of these failures and all of these things that went wrong to eventually get him to where he is today. And he has his own business, and he's doing so many great things. But to get there, he had 3 or 4 or 5 different businesses fail, right?
Mm.
People don't remember that. People don't broadcast that. He didn't share that necessarily with the world. He was living with his parents in the basement, right? He could barely afford anything. But nobody remembers that. Everyone remembers, oh, he has this very great business and
Mm.
he travels the world. And so I would bet you those people that you view as very successful, I would take the time and ask them for an interview and ask them, how have you gotten here? And I bet you that there's a lot of failure along the way, actually.
So failures really does makes us better, and we just have to.
Yeah.
I guess we just have to realize those failures is just a stepping stone instead of letting it drag us down. So I do notice that a lot of young people, especially in Taiwan right now, like young students, where they fail their education, as in they fail their last test of school or whatever, and they felt the pressure, and they realized they felt like they had to take their life in this case. And I'm always very sad when they felt that pressure of them, that this is the course that they have to take. And so when I teach the high schools in Taiwan, I've been telling my students, if you're feeling pressure, come and talk to me for one. Come and talk to me. Maybe I can help you. Maybe we can talk about it. I can be your friend. I felt like I myself have problems in my life. There's failures in my life, so I have some experiences, but I'm not gonna be the greatest coach. But I just want to be there in case these students take their lives. And so I mentioned this to a lot of people, to a lot of students, as well to my children. I told them, you need to find a purpose right now, instead of playing video games. I mean, video games are great, but it shouldn't be like a main focus of what we should be doing. It should be a side thing to help you be happy. But what is the main purpose that you should be looking at after high school? And I noticed, I don't know, during my generation, like when I was in high school, all of us had a dream of what we're gonna be in the future, But right now, I ask the high school students, most of them don't know. Very rarely I get someone who tells me, "Yes, Dominic, I want to be this in the future. I want to be that in the future." And I'm like, "Great," you know. Like today, I had one girl student, and she's only 8 years old. She's only 8 years old, but she told me, "I want to be a scientist." And so my plan was to be a scientist. I said, "What is your plan? How do you plan to do it?" So she told me all about her plan. Did your mom do this for you? I said, "No, I planned it myself." I was like, "Wow, 8 years old," and she's learning from me. I'm like, if she's gonna be a great scientist one day, I hope she remembers me, as one of the educator. So I feel
Yeah.
like, I need to tell the younger generations out there that there are more things to do in life than just this, I guess, and then that way they can find success in whatever they view in the future. I don't know so much about in the States, like what are the younger generations doing now? Are they just focusing on games, whatever, and not life?
There is a lot of that. I think there's a lot of time on social media, and there's a lot of time with video games and things like that. I also think there's a change in culture, right? You think, 30, 40 years ago, or even when I was growing up in the 20s, it wasn't very common for people to change jobs very frequently, right? They would
Right.
start at a company and go 30, 40 years, and that was your profession, and that was it. But now I think the younger generation is seeing it's very common to change jobs every 2, 3, 4 years, at least here in the States. I think that the median job placement in the United States right now with a
Right.
company is like 3.5 years or
Mm.
something of that nature. And so I think it's great because it shows when one door closes, another one opens, and there's all sorts of opportunity. But it also makes it more challenging, I think, when you're young, because you say, well, where do I start? If there's all these doors open, how do I start? And when I grew up, there were less doors open. It almost seemed like I could do one of 5 or 6 things. And yeah, when I was young, I thought I'd be a doctor.
Ah,
And I'm not a doctor, right? But I went into science, and I was a scientist for a bit. And then, you find a way. As you grow up, you realize more doors are open to you. So I applaud you for being that resource for your class and for the next generation, because they need it. They need as much guidance as they can get.
yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I feel like I need to do something. I feel like like I teach. How do I say it? What's the right way to say it? I educate students in the courses that they take, but I felt like I need to put life experiences or life education in it as well, because when I was young, none of my teachers actually give an impact to me of what I want to be in the future. I told them what I want to be in the future, but none of them actually made an impact by giving me advice or by actually telling me like failures. You're gonna meet failure and you're gonna get up from there. None of them said that, and I want to be the kind of teacher that actually tells my students that yes, it's gonna happen, but I want you to get up, get out of it, and then move on and be successful in whatever they plan to do in the future, right? So
Well, I love it. It's kind of like your mentality with the business, right? It's the same as a test, right? You fail a test, you don't just say, "Oh, I quit." You say, "Okay, let me see what I got wrong," and that way, next time I take the test, I'm going to do better, and you grow from it, and you do better. So I love it.
well, yeah. Well, Michael, I think we're near at the end of our interview, to our our show today. But do you have any, last quote from you or from anyone that you want to share with all of us viewers out there today?
Yeah. So I just want to say, I want to encourage individuals that right now is the perfect time, not tomorrow, not yesterday, today. Today's a great day to look inside and say, what matters to me, right? Why am I doing the things that I am doing? What drives me? What gets me out of bed in the morning, right? We don't have to wait for something to knock us down. We can do it today. We can redefine success for ourselves, and we can be grateful for the things that we currently have and take tangible steps to make ourselves better and get to where we want to be tomorrow. So I encourage you all to do that. If I can help in any way, please reach out. You have my website. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the future, because I think there's a lot of good that's going to come in this world. And the first step is redefining success for ourselves.
Well, thank you, Michael, again for coming to the show. Everyone else out there, the links are down here. There's a link right there, and there's one right here as well. And I'll be putting on more on the on the chat later. So thank you again, Michael. Please visit his website, get his book, and join us for our next chat tomorrow. And hopefully you can come to visit us again, Michael, in the future.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. So, okay, everybody. Thank you. Goodbye. Again, this is
All
Uncle
right. Thank you,
Dominic.
Dominic.
This is Michael. Bye bye, guys.